Another Kickstart This interview. We are here talking with Dani Coleman, who has a current Kickstarter available now that we're going to tell you about, as well as upcoming projects. And you've worked on a few other things as well. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. No, now let's just start with you a little bit here.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about you, about what you do, and about what got you into comic books.
Okay. So yeah, I'm a writer. I'm an editor. Anything that involves putting words on the page in an order that hopefully makes sense is kind of what I do. I started out in film. So right after high school, I came out to the US to go to film school. Thought that was what I wanted to do. Writing, directing. Went to school for it. Spent a couple years trying to enter the industry in Colorado before realizing that there is no film industry in Colorado. So didn't think that one through. And then...
Is that where you went to school?
Sorry?
Was that where you went to school? In Colorado?
Yeah, I went to the Colorado Film School. And then... Sorry, trying to get myself centered here. And then I sort of spent some time freelancing, worked on a handful of sets, did copywriting for a while, and eventually found myself studying animation at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco. And while I was there, I got to know some people in the illustration department, specifically in the comics track, and started going to comic conventions, just kind of seeing what this was about, acting as support staff, and realized that not only were comics people some of the best people I'd ever met, but there's a fairly straight line between the skill set for screenwriting and the skill set for comic book writing. And it's very action oriented, very dialogue driven. You've got to have a real economy of storytelling. So it appealed to me immensely, not least because you need $20 million to make a decently good-looking feature film, and you need maybe a tenth of that less. Not even 1% of that to make a good-looking comic book. So the barrier to entry is much, much lower, and the community is great. And so from there, I started picking up editing and back matter work in comics. My first published comics work actually was in the back matter for Matt Fraction and Christian Ward's Odyssey.
How did you get hooked up with that one?
So I'd known Matt for a little while through a mutual friend. And he had a signing local to me at one point. I went along, and Odyssey at that point had just started coming out. Issue 1 was in stores. And back in England, when I was in high school, I studied classical Greek because I was that kind of a nerd. Many, many long arguments with my parents. Why waste your time on Greek? You'll never use it for anything. I know, but I like it. And then... So I pick up this book and I'm reading it, and as I'm chatting to Matt and he's signing my book, I say, yeah, I love what you're doing with this. The language is fantastic. I actually studied the Odyssey in the original Greek when I was in high school, so I'm noticing that you did this here and that there. And Matt finishes signing and hands the book back to me and says, would you like to write essays for it? And I said, what? Wow. And he said, I'll pay you. And I said, what?
You're not just writing, you're getting paid too.
So I probably call my dad and say, haha, I do use Greek. And he said, who are you? And that's how that happened. So I worked on Odyssey. I contributed to issues, I think 4 through 12. And then I got some additional material in the giant hardcover. And it was, that kind of opened a lot of doors for me to do editorial, to do back matter. I got to know a lot of great people, and over time the opportunities to actually write my own stories started appearing.
Nice. And you do have some stuff coming up too, and of course you've got the one that we're here to actually talk about. Now, does your day-to-day job coincide with any of this as well, or?
Oh god, no, I work in tech.
Okay.
I train a robot to find all the information you don't want on the internet.
Okay, so yeah, completely different. This is your nice creative side that you're getting out with these kind of things. So, well then, why don't we talk about, we're here to talk about the Kickstarter. Why don't we talk about it? Tell us a little bit about your book. We're going to have links available on this. We're going to post after we have the video so people will be able to follow it straight to. But give us a little rundown about the book.
All right, so it's a 5-issue horror miniseries, and we're currently crowdfunding for issue 1. It's called This Old House, and it is a haunted house horror comedy about a pair of sham paranormal investigators who become sick of the hustle, decide to take on one last case, only to discover that this house actually has real ghosts in it. Very much a take on people like Ed and Lorraine Warren, who made an entire career out of going to these houses and either investigating the things that went bump in the night, or more likely creating a few things that could go bump in the night so that they could then sell the story and make a lot of money. And I love horror, and I love haunted house stories, and I love ghost stories, but there are some extremely well-worn cliches at this point.
Yeah.
As a language nut, the one that irritates me the most is when, you know, the protagonists present this desiccated old text in some obscure dialogue of ancient Sumerian, and the grisly academic at the local university manages to translate so that it rhymes.
Yes.
But no, language. Stop it. Language doesn't work like that. You should all be very, very confused and wondering whether this particular word means horse, bathroom, or, you know, demon. It's just, you know.
Does it turn out into a nice children's rhyme? No. So there might. Okay, my question is.
Again, it bugs me on a visceral level, and so I wanted to use the story as an opportunity to kind of take some of these tropes in horror and see if I could turn them on their heads a little bit while still telling a story that's fun and a little bit scary. And it's a genuine love letter to haunted house stories. It's not, there's no desire to kind of rip them down. But I love taking these building blocks and seeing what interesting new combinations I can make out of them.
Okay, so you mentioned comedy. You are still using some of these tropes, but you're not necessarily using them in the traditional way.
Right, exactly. There are certain points where I include things that any weathered horror fan is going to expect to lead in a particular direction. And then the fun of it is, can I make it lead in a completely different direction that's still going to be a little bit scary and still going to move the story?
Okay. So that your two main characters are they're at the end of their career. They have books after book on all this stuff that's going on, and so these 5 issues, is it going to be one haunted house that we're in?
Yeah, it's a single haunted house. It's an old schoolhouse in Salem, Massachusetts. And this house has secrets upon secrets upon secrets. So it's been bought. It's in a gentrifying neighborhood. It's been bought by a pair of tech-rich hipsters who want to gut it and renovate it and turn it into what they think is their dream home and what really is, you know, Kafka's Pinterest feed.
Okay, that didn't work well in Beetlejuice. I don't think it's
no.
Well in Beetlejuice in the end.
I don't think I saw Beetlejuice.
So who are you working with on this?
So my publisher is Evoluzione Publishing, which is a small, relatively new publisher run by a fellow named Marcel Dupré. He has been putting out books this way for about 4 years now, I think. And so the individual issues crowdfund, and then the trade is widely available. And he hooked me up with my art team. I'm working with. Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Oh, I know. That was the thing, honestly. So it's always a bit of a risk working with a tiny publisher, because comics is such a complicated business that the smaller publishers are always kind of walking on a bit of a cliff edge. It doesn't take much to go wrong for things to go very wrong.
Yeah.
But the thing that persuaded me in this case was the art team that Marcel was able to put together. The penciler is a fellow named Davide Tinto. He's Italian. His character work is just gorgeous. The colorist is Francesca Carotenuto, who also is doing lovely work. The letterer is Justin Birch. And then we have variant covers by Massimiliano Veltri and Joaquin Gonzalez.
Okay, that's awesome. And what on the Kickstarter, how much are you trying to go for, and how many days do we have left?
We're trying to raise $5,200. And as of recording, we have 7 days remaining.
That's perfect. This is the crunch time. This is the
it is. And I think we're going to make it. We had a really strong start. We've had nice momentum throughout the campaign. So we've got just under $1,000 left to raise in this final week. I think we're going to make it. But I'm as with anyone who kickstarts, I really hope we exceed, because then we can print more copies. We can improve the quality of the book. It's just everything above that initial goal goes towards getting more book and better book out there.
Then why don't we tell them a little bit about the goal, or the tiers? What can they expect to get?
Okay, so for $5, you get a digital DRM-free PDF copy of the first issue. And then I'm actually going to pull up the page so I can remind myself.
Give them the exact stuff that they're going to get. I mean, while you guys are watching this, just look up this old house. So it really does look beautiful.
Yeah, so we have 2 different $10 tiers, and both of them have proven quite popular. One of them is a physical and a digital copy of the first issue, and the other one is a deluxe digital edition, and that includes the full script. That includes some behind-the-scenes process pages, character sketches, so a lot of the really fun behind-the-scenes material that it would be too expensive to print into the issue. And then as you go up the tiers, we start including the variant covers at $25. We have an art print of the absolutely stunning variant cover by, which one is it? I swear I know this. This is my campaign.
Yes, but this is rough. I mean, you got a lot to do outside.
I've been living this for the last 3.5 weeks. Now, at $25, the art print is the variant cover by Massimiliano Veltri, and it is stunning. There's been so much amazing imagery that's been produced for this book, but this cover, honest to God, when I first saw it, I was so impressed that I actually changed a future script to encompass some of the imagery. There are some elements I hadn't planned to include, and I'm now going to, because this image is just too good.
That's beautiful. That is wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, like I said, going up the tiers, we have additional prints, additional variant covers. There's a bundle deal wherein you can get PDFs of some of Evoluzione's other titles, some of which are really lovely. They're putting out great books. And then right up to our highest available tier at the moment is 100, which gets you drawn into the book as one of the ghosts.
Sweet.
We actually had, I think my favorite backer so far, we had someone pledge for that tier on behalf of his dog.
Oh,
so we're going to have a ghost dog.
That's great. That is great. But I really do like that $10 tier, though, with all the back material, the creation material, because for a lot of people who want to do something like this, that's a great way for them to look and see how a script is put together, how the designs come together, what it's like to work with somebody. So that's
I love those. So I actually teach writing for comics at the Academy of Art University. And for me, one of the most valuable pieces of material out there are the special editions that have the script in the background, because it's so valuable to be able to see how a script translates to the page. What's the same, what's different, to think about why it might be different, whether, sometimes the writer has written something that cannot be drawn. Sometimes the writer has written something that can be drawn better. And certainly on this book, we've had a couple of occasions where what's on the page is not quite what was in the script, because Davide came up with an even more inventive way of doing it.
That's nice. That's a good working relationship. Yeah. Again, guys, we'll have the links for you. We'll have everything up there. But let's take a quick moment to tell them about a couple upcoming projects that you have.
Okay.
So what are they?
All right. Well, so I also recently had on Kickstarter, it just finished a few days ago, the Iron Circus anthology You Died, which is a collection of death-positive short stories. I have a 12-page story in there called Hive Mind, which follows a collective of semi-sentient robots trying to figure out their purpose after their creator dies. And I worked on this with a student from the Academy of Arts, Maddie Kathleen. She is a wonderful illustrator. And seriously, every time I would hand over a piece of script, I'd hand over a page, I'd hand over a description, I'd have a sense of what she'd give back to me, and she'd give me back something better.
Nice.
When I went back,
do you know how many people are in that book? How many other stories?
I think it might be as many as 50 stories.
Oh my God.
It's quite a lot. It's a hefty anthology. Iron Circus has been crowdfunding their anthologies for a long time at this point. They have their model down pat. They have a very, very dedicated fan base, so they're able to put out really, really high quality, meaty books with relatively little risk. And what's great about them is that there are some really established creators in this book, award-winning creators, but they're also very willing to take a chance on new teams. So this is going to be Maddie's first published work. And they were willing to take a chance on a relatively unknown team because our pitch was good, because we delivered on time, and we get to be in tremendous company in this book.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And what is the other one that we have coming up?
So the other one I've got coming up, and this I'm really excited about, is an original graphic novel through the Vault Comics. It's part of their Myriad line, which is their middle grade and young adult books. And it is a middle grade Jewish urban fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you tell us anything about it, or is it kind of under wraps at the moment?
No, I can tell you a little. The title and the basic premise have been out there for a while. So it's called The Unfinished Corner, and it's inspired by a little piece of esoteric Jewish mythology that holds that when God created the universe, he left a tiny corner of it unfinished as a challenge to mankind to finish the work that God had started. And so in this story, a group of 4 Jewish school children are abducted by a rogue angel who wants them to finish the unfinished corner so that he can have a new God to serve.
Okay, interesting.
And so they have to finish the unfinished corner, get help and harm from creatures and characters of Jewish mythology, and somehow find their way home.
And this is going to come out in 2020, right?
Yes.
How far along are you
guys? So the script is about 2/3 of the way done. The art team is being put together. Yeah, that's about where it's at.
On its way. That's the 2020 is the goal, and it's coming together.
I hope so. Very much hope so.
That's awesome. And Vault is not a bad place to be. They have been on the rise lately.
Yeah. They came out swinging. I mean, it's hard. It's weird to look back and realize that they've only been doing this in a high-profile way for a couple of years.
Yeah. But they're doing a great job on it. They've got good creators. They've got great people there. They're always keeping us updated. So again, not a bad place to be at.
Yeah. And they have, what I love about them is that they've got a really strong identity as a publisher. And that's something that I think is very, very difficult for new publishers to come into what's a very crowded field and give people a reason to buy these specific books. And in the Vault's case, they made the very, very smart choice to focus on science fiction and fantasy right from the beginning, to curate this absolutely fantastic line of incredibly imaginative thinkers. And it's really paying off for them.
Yes, no, it most definitely is. All right, everybody. So make sure you check out This Old House. Again, we got links for you. No excuses not to. You've got a week to take a peek at it before the Kickstarter comes to a head. So make sure you go look, because if there's tiers that there's only certain amounts on, you want to make sure you get in on that. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And we'll follow up with you at the end of the Kickstarter, and we will make sure to share the Kickstarter a couple times here before then.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.